The early stuff, I'm like, geez, cringe. Like thinking, like, what were those people thinking? What was I thinking?
Welcome to Chasing Rabbits, the space where we sit down with women who refuse to play small, who rewrite the rules, and who show us what's possible when we listen to that inner voice that says, there's more. I am your host, Alicia. I am a runner, a yoga teacher, a mountain lover, a coach, a retreat host, and a general jack of all trades. But here, my goal is to get you inspired by other women and to make you realize and see the power you have to inspire other people around you. In today's episode, we are slowing down the pace and speaking with Sinéad Pollock Orr. Sinéad is an outdoor instructor with over 25 years experience. She's a mountain leader and winter instructor. She is a rock climbing instructor as well. And she has led expeditions all the way from Ireland up to the Arctic. She is also a co-founder of Headspace Adventures, where she helps teenagers deal with anxiety through the outdoors. And she is an incredible person. Once you meet her, you can feel that everything will be okay. She's straight away puts you at ease, and you know that no matter what happens up the mountains, it'll be fine. In today's conversation, we are talking about leadership styles, about how nature affects people, and also how were those early years when she started her journey into this mountain world, this outdoor world, and how she shaped her life to do something that she loves so much all the time. Enjoy the episode. I hope you're going to like it just as much as I liked recording it. Sinéad Pollock Orr, welcome to the show. I am so happy to have you on.
Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, and I felt really chuffed to be asked, actually, when your message came through. So yeah, thank you so much.
I think I'm so lucky that I have met so many inspirational women in the outdoors. And we met last year in November, where you led our mountain leader training course. And I just remember feeling so good around you. You have such incredible energy that I suppose anybody who is with you in the mountains, they just feel like they're in good hands because you are so calm. Anything happens, you just don't seem to be bothered by anything. It's just, we'll find a way. It's all good. And I think that's amazing. And that's for many people a lot to learn as well. Not just the skills, but also the easiness that you have about yourself. What I would like to know first is we all find there's always a way, a path that leads us to where we are in the moment, in now. And you've been in the outdoors for 20 years, which is a long time. And I'd like to know, how did you get there? And was it something that you always knew? Was there a calling in you when you were young that, oh, well, there are the mountains, come on, go out there and run up the mountains?
So first of all, I'm a little bit older, Alicia. It's been like, so actually I think this year is like about 26 years working in the outdoors. Yeah. So I was really lucky that in secondary school, I just decided I knew probably from about second year, I was like, I want to be an outdoor instructor and that's it. And it's probably like the most decisive I've ever been in my life. Where I just knew, and that was certainly one of the first times where I recognized myself being super decisive. And I'd heard about this course down in Kinsale, which was very close to me. So I only lived about 20 minutes outside of Kinsale. And we would go to Kinsale regularly when we were small. My dad used to bring us out to the old head of Kinsale before it was a golf course, and we'd roam around the wilds and all of that. But so I knew I wanted to be an outdoor instructor. Unfortunately, the school I went to, so I went to a convent school, and Sister Nora, who was the career guidance, she brought us in like probably in fifth year or something, and was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to put in your CAO? And I told her I wanted to be an outdoor instructor. And I think her response was somewhere along the lines of, I think we'll have a chat with your mother. But anyway, my parents are incredible. They're incredibly open, and they allowed me to pursue this course in the outdoors. And from there, it just grew so many legs in so many different ways. And in my early years, I was definitely much more adrenaline driven. It was all about the technical, all about the skills, all about the kind of the hard stuff. And then more and more, as I expanded my qualifications, expanded my experience, completely expanded my worldview, it really opened me up to everything and anything that the outdoors has to offer. So I guess I've come, just this huge arc of being very specific around the technical, and also mostly in water sports. So I started out as a teenager. I used to save up my babysitting money, and I'd go get myself a couple of windsurfing lessons, and then I'd use it to rent gear. So I was lucky enough that my grandparents had a little summer house down in Oysterhaven, again, which was really close to home. But that's where we went for our summer holidays. It was like 20 minutes down the road to Oysterhaven. And there's a little centre there. I think probably one of the first kind of outdoor centres, or certainly one of the early ones there in Oysterhaven Bay. And they primarily did windsurfing. And that was my starter to, exciting adventure sports.
Amazing. And how did that lead you then to become a mountain leader? Was that part of the curriculum?
So, when I was training in those first 2 years that I did this outdoor course, we did a small bit of rock climbing. I don't think we really did any hill walking. It was very water sports driven. And I got to a fairly high level in whitewater kayaking. I became a level 3 kayaking instructor. And from there, I got a traineeship in Tiglin. So Tiglin used to be like the National Outdoor Centre. It's still there now, the building, but it has a very different purpose. And I got really lucky to get a traineeship to be a kayaking trainee there. And while I was there then, I obviously was doing lots of kayaking and canoeing work, and got to do some amazing trips to France and everything, over to Wales, everywhere in Ireland. But also there was a mountaineering side to Tiglin. So I just got opened up to this whole world of climbing. And I remember, like, in the evenings, people who worked there, like, there was a lot of freelance instructors coming and going. So there was like a core staff. And then there was some fantastic people would come and go. I was very lucky with Dave Gaughran was there, Tim, who's now my husband, was there. Robbie Fenlon would come and go. Tomas Aylward was around a little bit as well. And those people and Brian O'Rourke was another guy as well that I went climbing with. And I was the kayaking trainee. Then there was a climbing trainee, a guy called John Guy, lovely guy. Pity he didn't stay working in the outdoors, but he still adventures in the outdoors. And together in the evenings, people would just be like, we're going off doing this or that. So I would just tag along or be asked to come along. And that totally opened up my world to mountaineering. So I remember one evening they were like, oh, we're going to go climbing in Glendalough. I don't think I had even any idea what kind of climbing we were going to undertake, but it was my first experience of multi-pitch climbing. And it was after work, and they were just like, you just bring this and this. And we headed off, and there's an hour's walk in to start with. So I didn't realize that we had this hour's walk in. And then you're heading up to these like amazing multi-pitch buttresses up at the upper lake in Glendalough. And started climbing a few routes. They'd drag me up things, and I was lucky enough that I was able to get up behind them. And that completely opened my world to rock climbing and mountaineering. And it just grew from there. So I think I was really lucky with the people who I was surrounded by, and they were very much into sharing their skills and experience as well, which is definitely something that I took away with.
Yeah. And was there, back then, was there many women who shared your love to the outdoors? Was there, in the course, was there many girls with you, or would it have been mostly male dominated scene?
I think I'm trying to remember back to who was there? I think it was maybe not a 50-50 split, but it certainly wasn't. There was certainly maybe there probably was more guys on it than girls, thinking back now. But, and I think that's often the way these courses go, but they will take different trends. Some years there might be more girls than guys, so vice versa. But in terms of people staying long term working in the outdoors, I think from that bunch of people, there was probably more males stayed involved. But yeah, and then when I went to Tiglin, there was certainly more male instructors around, I think, as well, and less females. But it was actually never something that was ever on my radar. It's a question I get asked a lot. Who were your female role models? Now, certainly there are a few. Jane Carney was there at Tiglin, Orla Prendergast was there. And I would have come across some others along the way, particularly maybe through kayaking and stuff. But it was never a thing. It was never like, oh, you must go out with these women because they'll influence you in the right way or steer away from the lads or whatever. It was none of that. And so it was more just about people who were really excited to be in the outdoors and have adventures and go exploring. And they were really willing and open to sharing their skills and knowledge. And if they thought, I think that if they felt that there was maybe potential in you, then they were more eager to bring you along and almost like unofficially mentor you. And that's what I really felt, because I certainly had a lot of very, I suppose, inspirational and influential male outdoor people in my world, but I would never say that it was a thing that I got influenced one way or the other. It was just they were people, they were humans in the outdoors who shared the passion for the outdoors that I had, and they saw in me skills and qualities and strengths that would go far in the outdoors, so they pulled me along. But it is a question I get asked a lot. It's who are your female role models? But I would never, I would have an equal amount of both, I would say, in terms of male and female.
And so, listening to what you say, there wasn't really that kind of feeling, or was there, that I'm a woman, so I have to prove myself a bit more because it's a male-dominated scene? Or was there never a feeling of that? You were just one of them, and there was no male-female kind of, no.
No, like I think it's really interesting now that I am, like, so this is when I was like early 20s. Yeah, like from the age of 19, 20, 21, 22, those early years, even up to being 25 when I qualified as a mountain climbing instructor. And now I'm 46 this year, or going to be 46 this year. But in that, I do see this fascinating change in how sports, and not just the outdoors, has almost become very gender driven in some ways. And I sometimes I feel I have to be careful saying that, but I'm like, I'm just saying what I've seen. Okay. And when I started off in the outdoors, it wasn't, oh my God, you're the only female in the outdoors, or there's very few of you around, and how can you cope without having female mentors? And I coped and I managed and I got to where I am because I was just around people and humans that just enjoyed what they do. And it was about the outdoors, and it was never about gender. And it'll be very easy to say that I didn't have many, and maybe I've not gotten as far as I could because of that. But I'm incredibly appreciative of the people that I was surrounded by. And I never felt that they were, oh, geez, Sinead's a girl, so she won't be able to do this. Like, even in my kayaking years, there was a group of kayakers, really high level kayakers, and they would bring me along. And sometimes I used to think, geez, I am really crap at kayaking. I had a very good roll, so maybe they'd take me anywhere because they knew if I capsized, I'd just roll, I'd be fine. But they were willing to bring me out and teach me little bits along the way, and that was fantastic. But it was never like, oh, Sinead's a girl and she's not as able as us, so we won't put her into this really extreme environment. And similarly with climbing, it was always like, yeah, are you interested? Are you free? Or we're going to try this route, or we're going to go hike this mountain or whatever. We're going to go on this trip. Are you interested? And that was it. It was like, did you have an interest and a motivation? Come along. And there was no kind of, oh, you can't come because this is a lads only thing, or this is too extreme for you, or this isn't, we're not doing a gentle, softly trip. It's funny how people will often put us in categories that women are the more, up for more kind of gentle, soft adventure, and the lads are up for more the hard stuff. And it just isn't that way. It's that way maybe because that's what is being put out there in the media a lot, and same with the over focus on having to have had lots of female role models. I didn't, and I'm still here and I'm still working in the outdoors, and I would hope that I'm reasonably successful. I can pay the bills every month and stuff. But it is something that people always ask me. And
Mhm.
yeah, and ask me like, how did I manage? How did I cope being in such a male orientated environment all the time? And I went on an expedition to Greenland with 4 other guys, but there was no other females there. And yeah, we just got on with it. And we all
Yeah.
brought our different skills and strengths along the way. And it was about your skills and strengths, your interest, your motivation, as opposed to your gender. I
Mhm.
hope that makes sense
It's
and doesn't
it's
sound
it's
too
it's
severe.
it's yeah, it's so refreshing to hear. It's actually it is because in many disciplines there would be that divide in, I know you're too slow or you too something or because you're a woman. And it's incredible to hear that this environment is so inclusive for women who would like to dip their toes into it.
Mm.
It's good to know that just go and the lads will just treat you like just
Yeah,
another
just another
person.
human.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And do you find that in the outdoors, again, I'm not trying to bring divides into anything. Men and women are different in many ways. Do you think that there are certain characteristics of women in the outdoors in general that bring, I'm gonna have to reframe the question. So in the way that women are different than men, obviously,
Mm.
when they lead groups or when they are in groups, do you think, how do you think they're different in their approach to leading, to the outdoors, to safety in the mountains? Do you think there are differences?
Yeah, I think there are. And for sure, when you have purely a group of males and purely a group of women, it's going to be very different to a mixed group. And I see a real benefit to working with mixed groups as much as possible. And I get that there are times for specific times where it should be one or the other. But in general, I would opt for a mix. I think, and again, in my years of being led as well, being a student on courses, I've done a lot of courses in my time. And learning, always trying to observe different leadership styles and take as much as I can from that. And I do see how men can sometimes maybe take on this role where they need to be the leader and they need to be the one in charge and making the decisions or doing this hard jobs or whatever it is, or harder tasks, or taking something maybe to the next level or more adventurous. But I have actually also seen women do that as well. Maybe we just see or again perceive that more men are doing it. But to be fair, I've seen women do that too. And I've seen men also who take on a fantastic kind of more holistic leadership approach where they're very group orientated and it is not about them. And I have equally seen women take on roles where they're in leadership and it's all about them and it's not about the group and it's not great. So I've seen both from both males and female leaders along the way. And then it's just about, I guess what I've done is just decided what I feel is best for my style of leadership and working with people and tried to take the best and yeah, learn what is good for other humans out there and what take lots of learning as well from what I see that hasn't worked because I've seen a lot of what hasn't worked as well from being on courses and of course made loads of mistakes myself along the way as well. And yeah, because I'm sure I'm still learning. Like, none of us get it right all the time. I always come back from a day's work and reflect on how things went. And there'll always be stuff that you can change and do differently. And then what's equally important is to reflect on the things that actually you felt happy you did well, because we
Yeah,
don't do it a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, that's for sure.
Mm.
And so tell me on the leadership. So, because you've been in the space for so many years, how did your leadership change throughout the years? Like, I remember from the course, the 10 different leadership styles
Oh, yeah.
and mixing them around and everything. But throughout the years, when you are leading, as you said, being led and being surrounded by different people and their styles, how was there a big shift in your own leadership style? So did it start a different way years ago and then throughout the years you changed it a little bit? How did that change over years?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I think back on some of the early stuff, I'm like, geez, cringe. Like thinking, like, what were those people thinking? What was I thinking? When you're young and you only know your window is very small, and you do your best and you do what you know works and what you've seen and what you've been exposed to. So I think certainly my leadership at the start, when I was learning and just, yeah, had a very limited amount of experience, it was probably more the traditional, not quite always leading from the front, so to speak, but metaphorically, you're out there, the one doing everything and maybe leading more for me as opposed to leading for the group. Very technically driven as well, I think, in the early years, whether it was kayaking, climbing, mountaineering. And the thing is, when you're working with in the outdoors with people, even if it is a technical course, there is a whole human side to it as well that you need to take into consideration. And certainly that's something that evolved more and more over time. But yeah, those early days, it was very gung ho and maybe not understanding about people's comfort zones, prior learning, transferable skills they might have had already. It was very much like I had my plan and we were going with that. Whereas now it has, yeah, taken on a completely different, yeah, a much more broader, expanded approach. But there are times like, the thing is, your leadership is constantly changing all the time, depending on what you're working on and who you're working with. And I think one of the turning points, I guess, for me was after Tiglin. I think it was still probably freelancing a bit in Tiglin at the time, but I took on a job in a youth service in County Wicklow, and I was working with some very vulnerable and sometimes challenging young people, all through the outdoors. So it was kind of like youth work, but using the outdoors as a platform. So I used to take them off doing all sorts of adventurous sports and activities in the outdoors. And I think with working with the young people, it just brought something different because they weren't looking for the technical. They were looking for something completely different. And I think that really made me start to look and understand and appreciate more the human side of things as opposed to the technical. They just had a whole different agenda. So I came in and I was like an adventure sports officer. So it was like youth work through the platform of the outdoors. So I took them on all sorts of adventures, morning, noon, and night sometimes, water sports based, inland based, rivers, gorge walking, whatever, climbing, hiking, night hiking, all sorts of things, lots of campcraft and team games, all of that. So I had to very quickly, I guess, shift from that very technical and what my plan was to suddenly really facilitating an experience for these young people as a group, but as individuals as well. Because they were tough. So they actually were the best teachers I guess I ever had. So it was fantastic and I really enjoyed those years. And I was very lucky at the time that I did that youth service job, but then at the weekends I would work like just as a climbing and mountaineering instructor. I felt I had the best of both worlds, that I had these young people who like just totally come with your plan and they just totally flip it upside down. And the weekends I'd be working with people who very specifically wanted to come along and learn rock climbing skills or become rock climbing instructors or mountaineering and hill walking instructors. Yeah, so it was great. I was able to, yeah, fulfill all duties in terms of the youth work and the technical side of things. So it was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that when you thought that you are helping those young people? Is that when the idea of the Headspace Adventures kind of popped up in your head?
Yeah, so back in, I think it was maybe 2008, and Ursula McPherson from Garton Outdoor Education Centre, who's retired now, but she contacted me and she knew obviously that I was an outdoor instructor, but also that I had a lot of experience working with young people. And at the time, RTE were recording a program called Teens in the Wild with Dr. David Coleman. They needed, so they had obviously some staff from their centre as well, but they wanted someone else maybe to come in I guess maybe who had a lot of youth work experience. So I remember going up, having a meeting, and met David, met the production team and the film crew and all that. And they were like, this is what we want to do. And I was like, all right. So I used all my annual leave, and probably a little bit more. And I went up to Donegal. It was absolutely in the middle of nowhere. Like, my knowledge of Donegal was fairly limited. I'd been like to Gola Island and a few places climbing and all that, but I was suddenly living in this wooden cabin in the middle of nowhere in Donegal with 6 teenagers and David Coleman and this film crew for a month. Like, we spent a month up there, and that was amazing. And it really, yeah, brought together the two things: my love of the outdoors and my love of working with young people. And I learned an enormous amount working on that as well, and obviously working with David Coleman as well was fantastic. And after that, then we did a program called Families in the Wild, and that was based in Kerry. And yeah, so David came back, or we would hook up and do pieces of work together. And then after those programs, I think a lot of people, like, I was really surprised. Like, sometimes people would say to me, oh, you did that program on TV with David Coleman, would you do it again? So there was this little bit of, obviously, people, it really, I suppose, spoke to people and families, and they were like, I would love this. Where could I get an opportunity for my young person to have a week or so immersed in nature without any of the usual distractions and pulls in life? And yeah, there's loads of amazing outdoor centres out there running courses and stuff. But I guess the uniqueness of having someone with the clinical background, and then having someone with the outdoor background, and then nature itself. So having those, 3 elements was just amazing. So the years went on, and I would meet David every now and again, and we'd do a little bit of work, maybe with, I think I came in and did a few bits of work with him over the years. And then we decided people are asking for this and looking for it. So will we try something? So it wasn't until actually, I think 2017. Yeah, because actually only just the other day, a photo popped up from our very first Headspace Adventures kind of trial. I sent him a message going, God, can you believe this was 9 years ago? So we'll have to have a 10-year celebration next year. But yeah, so from there, we just decided, sure, let's give it a go. So we put together this week of immersing young people in nature and the outdoors, and obviously some individual therapy happening along the way in a very kind of natural way, and not super structured in that, oh, at this time on this day you'll be chatting to David. It's just the two of us work with them for the week. The odd time maybe somebody additional might come in for a particular activity if we need that for safety wise, but otherwise we just have this very flexible digital free week of adventure and exploring in nature over in Connemara. So I'll just actually, in a couple of weeks, we're heading to do our first one for 2026. So it's fairly intense work, but it is incredibly rewarding. And yeah, and David is fantastic to work with. And I've learned so much from him over the years. And I guess I could say likewise, he's learned a bit too. He's gradually getting to grips with setting up ropes and stuff like that. And he has a passion and an interest in the outdoors too. So it makes it very easy. We're both there all the time with the young people, and it's that shared experience is enormous.
It's amazing what you do, especially these days when kids spend so much time in their phones, and they get, like, it has such a massive effect on their mental health, and to be completely removed from that for a week, it's I'd say it's a massive challenge for them as well, because it's like going on the detox, which I hate that word,
Yeah.
but it is completely
Yeah.
removing them from their everyday life and completely out of their comfort zone,
Mm.
which is amazing. It's especially like, I myself last week decided that I've had enough social media and enough screens, and I switched everything off for 24 hours. Completely. I did not look at my phone even for time. It was just switched off. My laptop was closed all day, and I just felt like a different person. The
Mm.
the things that I did in the 24 hours, obviously sleep, but like gardening and, like,
Yeah.
grounding. I think the grounding is so important for those kids. And I'd say you must be so happy seeing them after the 7 days? Because I'd say, what is the feedback? What would be the feedback from them, from the kids?
Yeah, the feedback is always really good. And I often think the best piece of feedback is actually when a young person wants to come back. So we have had a lot of young people over the years actually come back. And then it's a sad point when they get to the stage where they're too old. And you're like, okay, you're going to be turning 18 now. Sorry, you can't come. But it is hugely rewarding work. And yeah, like you were just saying there, it is massively, it's a big ask for them. They're away for 7 days without their family. It is a small group, and we have 6 or 7 young people and generally mixed boys and girls, but they don't know anybody else. They don't know David and I. They may have had a conversation with David before. He may have worked with them a little bit, but quite often not. And they're in an environment that's completely alien to their everyday life. And then, yeah, the big thing is they don't have their phones. So they don't have that kind of little security blanket. And you see them the first 24 hours maybe checking their pockets, and there's that little element of restlessness maybe on the first night as well, because you're suddenly sleeping somewhere that's quite different, but maybe you don't have the comfort of watching something on your phone, or even listening to music isn't there for you. So, but very quickly they do settle into it. So it is amazing to see that immersion in nature, how quickly they'll settle, or as you use the term, they're grounding. So they will ground quite quickly. Obviously there's a busy element to it, in that we're doing activities. When we're not doing activities outdoors or exploring outdoors, they're either eating back at the house or playing board games and doing arts and crafts bits and campcraft and all that. So it is busy. There is downtime for themselves, of course, as well, if they want to go off and read in a quiet corner. But the majority of the time, it's, yeah, just out in nature and doing whatever the weather will allow us. So we do have that lovely freedom and flexibility. And if something is going well, we can stay a bit longer. If it's not really meeting their needs, we'll move on to something else. So that's the joy of a small group as well. And working with someone that you can, yeah, work very well with. And David and I know our roles very well. And sometimes there's not an awful lot of chat goes on, but we just slot in and do what we need to do, and it works really well. And we've tried a few different things over the years, but we've always ended up coming back to what has worked with us.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I'd love to do.
Yeah, I know.
Do you
so
take
funny.
mature teenagers?
The parents always ask, would you do something for adults? And one thing is, there's just not enough days in the year sometimes to fit everything in. But I do think, and we do chat about it every now and again, that yeah, we should try and do something for adults. So when we do, I'll let you know.
Absolutely, because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is great. And I think, what you often see is that young people, and same with adults I've had out on things where there's maybe no time for the phone. We will revert to play and creativity if we allow ourselves. But if we always have those things, if we're always surrounding ourselves by the things that will pull our distraction, then we won't ever figure out that we can revert to being playful and creative and relaxing.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. And you also lead groups up in the Arctic, the adventures for adults then. How do you find that? Because that's something completely different environment and completely different people, obviously. How do you find leading groups up there?
Yeah, I love it. And I love the winter stuff. And I went and did my winter qualifications, and any opportunity to go up is amazing. I did lots of winters working in Scotland. And then I feel really lucky in that Ronan and Cindy Mullen from adventure.ie then approached me a good few years ago now. Yeah, I'll have to actually check how long, but a fair few years going up into the Arctic with them and working with their groups up there. So we're right up in northern Finland, and it is just an incredible landscape. There's an incredible, I guess, in one way, a very peaceful energy up there, but in another way, it is this Arctic environment which can bring a lot of chaos sometimes and extremeness. But I absolutely love all that. Yeah. And sometimes I think if I didn't have parental responsibilities, I might spend more time up there. But yeah, it is wonderful. And maybe someday I will spend more time up there.
Yeah, yeah. And was there ever a moment, well, maybe it wasn't in the Arctic, but was there a moment in your career where you questioned your choices, where you thought, I can't do this anymore. This is too much.
I think again, I feel lucky enough that I've never been at that extreme end of, oh my God, I'm going to have to get another job or completely change tack. Definitely, there's been times I've struggled or work has been thin on the ground or things, other life stuff has just been difficult. Um, but I think I've always managed to adapt maybe and tweak things so that, yeah, that I can get myself out of a rut and never made any big drastic career changes. I've certainly expanded my career in terms of what I can do in the outdoors, that it's not just one path of teaching one thing or working in one kind of area within the outdoors. So I do feel really lucky that I have a big variety in my work in the outdoors. That definitely helps. It helps motivation wise for, because there are certainly days where I've been out and you're thinking, Jesus, maybe I should just get a normal job working in an office 9 to 5 where I'm dry all the time, not wet and damp and having to come home and sort loads of gear out or convince everybody else that this weather is fine, will be grand. So there are tough times for sure. But again, I think it's that piece where you come back and, in the moment it could be really hard, but then you come back and you have a think about it and you're like, no, it was fine. And we managed and we coped and we got back and we're grand. And even thinking about your ML week down in Kerry, like there was some really shit weather there. I remember you and Shawnee just kept going, oh my God, France, imagine France. Oh, the sunshine. And even I was thinking, yeah, what am I doing here in the mountains in such horrific weather conditions in the middle of November and when other places could be dry and sunny or, yeah, cold and dry as well. But then there's the magic in that bit of hardship and challenge and constant adapting as well. That's, I think, what probably keeps me coming back to it.
Yeah. And have you ever had, speaking of the weather and the wet and everything, have you ever had somebody who was really uncomfortable and unhappy in the course or on the mountains somewhere, and they really did not want to be there? And how did you manage that? Because some people will go to the outdoors, and like us, we always laugh, oh, France is lovely and warm and hot and dry, blah blah blah, but we
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love being in Ireland. And when it rains, sure, what, it's just weather, just listen, enjoy it, and
Yeah.
and that's it. But was there ever a moment or yeah, where you had to really dig deep to get somebody out of a very like low moment?
I think, yeah, for sure. I guess there has been times where, yeah, you have to completely change things around and somebody has a big need that needs to be met. I think one of the things that we talked about being great problem solvers, especially here at the technology today, but I think one of the things as outdoor leaders as well that we don't credit ourselves enough for is, yes, we're great problem solvers, but we're also fantastic problem preventers. And that comes from really getting to know and observe your group. I think observation is one of whatever about leading and being able to talk to people and explain things and teach people things. Actually, observing people is a really interesting skill, and seeing how people are at the start of the day to mid morning, afternoon, and watching for things, being observant and staying, I guess, fully focused on the group and not allowing ourselves as leaders to be distracted, because then inevitably you will miss something from somebody in the group. So it's to not to let it get to that stage where somebody has gone so far that they're like, okay, I need to get off here now. Generally, I think over the years I've been lucky enough to catch things early on or check in with people early on, that it hasn't got to any kind of extreme stage like that. And and as well, if it is creeping that way, that you can talk them around and maybe, well, yeah, talking is so important and communicating with your group and the individuals. And I think other people in the group are always incredibly understanding when they know maybe something isn't going well for somebody else. And again, in being open and honest and chatting to your group, like that's where they'll see that. If you don't say anything and you keep it all closed off and you think, I'll figure this all out on my own, you have to remember that, yes, you might be there as the group leader, but it is a group thing. So having open communication with them is important. And yeah, there's been
Mhm.
plenty of days where you plan one thing, but then you have to, yeah, do a full 360 on it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you hear it more and more these days, which I suppose is another thing, with the uh, outdoor space, the outdoor world in Ireland has changed in the last only like obviously 20, 30 years, but in the last, I'd say 5 years, I'd say since after COVID, the outdoors changed. There's more people going out on the mountains, more people doing silly things on the mountains, and yeah, and it's, I think, telling, like, making, not making people, but inviting people to learn more skills so that they can avoid these situations where mountain rescue has to be called. It is so important. And do you see an increase in interest for mountain skills courses, for people really wanting to get to know more just for their own safety?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and like you said, there's definitely been an increase in all aspects of the outdoors. So whether it's the swimming in the sea or biking, hiking, climbing, whatever, there's definitely an increase. And I think the visibility of sports and adventure sports in particular, as well online, is, I guess, a big promoter of that and encouraging people to go out. And we see these amazing pictures of places, and somebody wants to go there. But I can't speak for the volume of, is there an increase in risk or mountain rescue callouts or anything, but there certainly, I think, is an increase in people becoming interested in doing courses. And I would often direct people like that beginning, maybe join your local hiking club or climbing club and get some kind of foundational training there, and then see, do you want to go on? And yeah, like the likes of Mountain Skills is just fantastic for everybody. It gives everybody such a great foundation for being in the outdoors, whether it's in the lowlands or the uplands. And those map reading skills, I know in the school curriculum, there's meant to be a little bit on orienteering, and that, I don't know if it's always met, but sometimes you get people on a course like, oh yeah, I do remember my geography class in school. So it's nice to see that. But I do think the likes of Mountain Skills is a fantastic kind of foundation for people. And then from there, they
Yeah,
can decide on, yeah, do they want to do a little bit more? Quite
yeah,
often,
yeah.
like, I'll get people on mountain leadership, particularly Mountain Leader 1 training. And it's not because they want to be mountain leaders, but it's because they just want to advance their personal skills. So that's a nice one to do as well if you just want that little bit more than mountain skills.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so important, and it's so much fun as well. I think I
Mm.
remember when I did my mountain skills, all of that, and I had to do my assessment, and it was the most stressful day of my life. It was, I was so stressed, and I was talking to Sean, and Sean said, "But you know what you're doing. Just go and enjoy yourself. Just have a good day out there, and remember that you do it for fun. You
Mm.
take out the map and do it for fun. So just, just go out there and do it." And I think for many people, I've noticed that a map and a compass is, some people are just scared of it, because obviously if people don't know how to use it, it's a bit, oh, I don't know what it is, so don't even show it to me. And then I also noticed that sometimes for people in the group, I remember once taking out a map and compass with a group, just group of friends, just being, let's practice something, and suddenly everybody looked at me and they were like, are we lost? No, we're just gonna
Yeah.
look at the map. But straight away people thought, oh my god, we're lost, oh my god, we're
Yeah.
lost, where. So yeah, but definitely, yeah, learning the skills to, for your own sake, and for
Mm.
sometimes, you want to go out and you want to go on your own, and because there aren't always people around to go with you, and it's just so good to have the confidence to go out there and know that if anything happens, you know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And now as well, I see so many people go traveling these days as well, and they go off on trail running trips, hiking trips, whatever, even just a trip in general. But to be able to pick up a map and figure out how to orientate the map and be able to tell, okay, that's that track, that's that track, that's that route there, and head off. Just general map reading skills, I think, are brilliant. like we're ruined now with Google Maps. Like years ago, Tim and I went traveling in France well before I probably didn't even have a phone myself maybe, but certainly there was no Google Maps. And we just had like road maps to France and Germany, and we went into Italy. We went all over. And I actually don't know how we made it around, A, without killing each other, and B, without getting like horrifically lost. But I don't ever remember us being lost. But to be able to read the map was fantastic. Yeah, but we've lost all of those skills now. And we're just, yeah, just pop that into Google Maps there.
God. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Tell me, after so many years of being in the outdoors, how do you make yourself go back? Is it still the same love that you had years ago? You seem very passionate about it, so but do you still have the same fire within you about the outdoors? And do you always do you feel like this is something that you want to do forever?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I do love the outdoors, and as harsh and as challenging as it can be sometimes, both weather-wise and maybe the people that you might have out sometimes can pose lots of interesting challenges. I do have this, yeah, drawback to it all the time. And I think one of the big draws is that it's always so different. Whether it's the environment is different, the people are different. There's something very, yeah, pulling all the time back to the outdoors. And again, like I said earlier, I do feel lucky in that I have quite a variety within my work. And I think that helps. And I think that element of, I know we chatted about it on your ML training, that idea of like self leadership. So knowing yourself very well. So your self awareness, your self regulation, you're kind of managing yourself and learning about yourself. And then self reflection, figuring out, yeah, what went well, what might I like to change. When doing that, you can go, oh, next time I might try a little bit of this or learn a little bit more about that. So yeah, there's a drawback there all the time, and I hope I can be active in the outdoors for as long as possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's not. There's never the same day. Like every
No.
day is so much different. And
Yeah.
yeah, you can have the same group of people in the same area even, and it will
Mm.
never be the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like people are fascinating. And I meet so many people, and I have been so inspired by so many people that I've had in the outdoors. And I had a course recently, a lowland leadership training, and in Wicklow, and I met some amazing people on that. And some people I had known before from other courses, and they came back on a course, but I learned something else about them, or they brought something else that I learned a little bit more about the outdoors and something that they taught me about. So I think that, yeah, that fondness for learning as well, and being interested in people and people's lives is a big draw. But yeah, I feel, I'm sure yourselves, when you were along for your week, like that was a fascinating group of people. And again, not all trail runners, but it was just a really amazing group of people, and everybody brought something different and unique. And I think that's, yeah, that's where the magic happens. If you're open
Yeah,
to if you're open to that as well, it could be easy to just stay a little bit blinkered and think, this is my work, this is what I have to get across to these people. But actually giving people time, there's so much learning, I think, for me, but also for the people within the group.
yeah, absolutely. And that's actually that leads me to my next question, which is you must have learned a lot about yourself through working with other people.
Mm.
Because it's one thing learning about other people around you, but through meeting them, you learn always something about yourself. And is there something that stands out for you, that you've met somebody who actually made you realize something about yourself?
I'm trying to remember like maybe a specific thing, but I think I know something that people will often say to me is that they very much, I guess, felt I had patience in being patient with them. So I think that is one of the strengths I do, is I do have a lot of patience for other people. And I think from that, it allows them to shine or to flourish a little bit. They come with that feedback that they had an opportunity to shine, that, yeah, that's amazing. And then that teaches me something about myself. And I think, okay, how can I bring a bit more of me to my work.
Because it has so much effect. It affects people so much. And do you think that you've learned the patience through working with people, or have you always had that in you? Have you always been a really patient person?
I'm not sure I've always been a patient person. And I think it's a funny thing because there's definitely times in my life where I'm not patient and I'm very impatient, probably mostly with myself. But I think the outdoors, being in nature, teaches us to be patient. We can't rush certain things, and we can't rush the weather. We can't rush a particular environment. So nature is an enormous teacher as well. And then, of course, when you put humans in the mix, again, if you want something to be a success and you want people to have a good day and to have that want to come back for more at the end of the day, you can't rush that and you can't force that. You just have to be patient with people and allow them to see that themselves, that they felt they enjoyed the day and they want to come back for more. I can't make that happen for them, but I can certainly try and facilitate a space where they can get to that.
Yeah, and you definitely do. That's for sure. That's how we came away from our week, because that was an intense course.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the
And
end of it, we were just that was amazing. Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just thinking back there. Do you remember on one of the night navs, and we got to that river which we thought we could cross, and we couldn't even speak to each other across the river. Obviously, we were split into two groups, two instructors, but that was a moment where we were like, okay, we have to completely change our plan here because we physically can't get across this stream, which it was on the map, it turned into a river, and we also couldn't
yes,
communicate. So I think there was lots of waving and flashing torches at each other.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
but there was an amazing lesson in how that we have to, yeah, adapt, and we can have this fixed plan in our minds, but in the outdoors, everything can get chopped around. And like with
yeah.
this call, we've had such an interesting, experience on this call. And again, I think because we're so used to dealing with change that we didn't allow it, because we could have easily gone, well, feck it, we'll just try it another day or we'll have to do something else. But yeah,
Let's find
persistence
solution.
and yeah, open-mindedness.
Yeah, absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. And that's something that Sean always says. And he's just, there's a problem, there's a solution. Okay,
Yeah,
let's stop.
yeah,
Let's stop finding problems and start finding solutions. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's something I learned
It's a good
from
one.
him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for women who would like to, as we said before, dip their toes into the outdoors and try different things, but they're unsure and they don't know where to start, how to start, or they're a little bit afraid maybe of stepping outside because there is so much, not maybe real dangers, but perceived dangers in the outdoors. What would you tell them? What would be your advice to a woman who would really like to get out there, but it's a bit unsure?
So there's a lot in that. I think we have loads of amazing clubs and national governing bodies. They want to get into a particular activity. I would say just a quick Google search on where's your local club, or if it's anything to do with hill walking and climbing, contact Mountaineering Ireland or go onto their website and see if there's something there. Whilst the what's out there is limitless, but also I think sometimes you have to limit yourself. So I think starting local, look locally, what's around you before looking too big, because it can get very daunting then when you're trying to break into something new, a new activity. And I think as well, as adults, we like to stay within our comfort zones, and it can be a big daunting thing to put ourselves out there in a new environment with a completely new group of people and not knowing maybe any of the skills involved. But so that's a big, brave move. So, one thing is to just try to be brave. So, there's that side of kind of finding a club or a local instructor or a local group or whatever it is, or a course nearby. And then the other side of it is actually just actually getting to learn a little bit about yourself, know yourself, because we can be like, I certainly went through years of having loads of doubt about and I still do, doubt will always creep in, and lack of belief and all of that. But the more we know and understand ourselves and what works for us, what doesn't work for us, how we like to go about things, what are our strengths, all of that, what amazing stuff have you got to bring maybe to something new. And perhaps you actually have some skills that are already transferable. So sometimes it's, we can be looking out and wanting to get something or somebody to make something work for us, but have a look inside first and figure out a little bit more about you. And also, I think being comfortable in your own company is a massive thing in the outdoors as well. And I guess that's something I've learned, because working in the outdoors is a very lonely world. And that element of maybe branching into something new, a new activity. Yes, you can be surrounded by lots of other people, but actually being comfortable with yourself is really important. And then you'll be comfortable around others then as well. And the right people will be drawn to you. But that's a really tricky question to answer. there's no right and wrong. And again, people want to get into something, maybe it's a bit of walking or a bit of running, like, have a look at where you live, and can you actually, I live in the countryside, so I would say just head out and go for a wander around the roads. There's always roads that'll connect you. You find a little loop somewhere. And also not to be afraid to just keep walking and see where the next little round the corner will bring you. And say if you live in an urban area, we're very lucky in Ireland. We've lots of amazing parks, woodlands on the outskirts, and all of those kind of things. So you don't have to go to anything extreme first. Do something nice and simple and get comfortable with that first stage. And then when you're out there, you'll meet others. I mean, you might meet someone else walking on the country road, or you might meet someone else in the local woodland. And and that's a way of building a little community for yourselves then, and branching into something new and then seeing where that takes you. You might start off just going for a walk in the park, but next minute you could be in your local climbing wall some evening. Who knows? And I think it's okay to not know. That's the other thing. We love having predictable lives and knowing what's happening day by day, but actually the unknown is very important, to be comfortable with the unknown as well.
Yeah. And I think there is beautiful, people find that hiking or outdoors communities, they're a special kind of people. I find anyway.
Yeah.
So I know that people always ask us, "Oh, have you ever had a group that was tricky? Have you ever had somebody who was really like not really fitting in?" And the answer is no, because you're a certain type, and it's always lovely people. Always. It's
Yeah.
always people who have very similar interests, who are just, and I'm not saying people who are not into the outdoors are not lovely, but it's just, it is, you can make amazing friendships, and you never know, you might be on the trail somewhere and meet somebody walking with a stick, and you don't know, in 5 minutes you're walking with them and you're having incredible deep conversations, and yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. But you never know that when you go out. So we never realize these amazing interactions that we're going to have. But the unknown is actually quite cool.
Yeah, that should be on a t-shirt. We should know the unknown. Yeah.
If we get sick of the outdoors, Alicia, we can go into t-shirt making.
I already started.
Oh, very good.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, I think that's everything for now. It was a lovely chat, and I know that we could probably sit here and talk more about everything.
Yeah.
And I love your selection of maps behind you. Oh my God, it's like
I do have a lot of maps going on there. Yeah.
yeah,
It's my work shelf. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah, I do
beautiful.
actually. I love maps. Yeah. Love looking at maps.
Yeah, I must say that there is a massive difference. Irish maps are, I think, one of the best in the world. I don't know about the world, but in Europe, as like French maps are nowhere near to the quality of Irish maps, really. So yeah, shout out
Yeah.
to Irish producers.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my Irish map shelf here. As you can see, it's a lot. But one of the challenges I always have is when you're folding and all those creases, and it's like exactly where you want to go is on the crease that you folded too many times. But I guess that's just a sign of being out a lot. Yeah, there's no harm.
Yeah, exactly.
Super.
Sinead, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the mountains, and I'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alicia. Yeah, it was a pleasure
Thank
talking
you.
to you.
And that's a wrap. You've been listening to Chasing Rabbits. I hope you enjoyed your time spent with me. And if you did, please share it with a friend. Spread the love as much as you can. We will see you soon. And in the meantime, keep chasing rabbits.